I spent 200 euros at Romania's largest entrepreneurship conference, and here's everything that you need to know. Hello everyone, my name is Laura and welcome back to my channel. I haven't uploaded in a while, however, I've been gone for multiple different reasons, one of which being establishing my first business legally and admin-wise. And in doing that, I also took the time to attend Romania's largest entrepreneurship conference. And I've been to most of the headliners, I've been to a lot of the talks, and I wanted to share everything that I learned, the main ideas, the best ideas with you so that you can make up your mind what to apply first of all in your own business, and second of all if you wanted to join for the next edition in 2026. I'm determined to share some of the best tidbits with you in this video, whilst I'm also going to be sharing some footage from the actual event so that you can see all the settings, all the speakers, some of the presentations that they had, and kind of the talking points that they shared. So I have my notes in front of me, I have my laptop right behind me, and let's get into this, okay? The event took place between the 21st and the 25th of May, so just last week. And the first set of headliners had their speeches on the 22nd, so on the Thursday. The first one who debuted on stage was Ari Scott. She is a fantastic entrepreneur. If you don't know her, she owns the business called the ADHD Entrepreneur, and her goal is to create 100,000 ADHD-owned businesses throughout the course of her career. So she's coaching business owners and entrepreneurs who have ADHD on how to create the most sustainable and practical business models for their own sanity, basically. Ari had a very well thought out presentation that she had on the screen for us, as well as obviously her exceptional public speaking skills. So she shared the ADHD Entrepreneur map, which has a few different ideas, components that you need to follow if you have ADHD, or if you want to create a business model that's frankly a lot easier than a lot of the traditional businesses. So it focuses on bringing the idea from its core to the launch and having a sustainable business without the burnout and without all of the overwhelming feeling of having to do everything yourself. So she basically encouraged all entrepreneurs, not only ADHD entrepreneurs, to basically create a system that works for them, that is not overwhelming on the brain, on the nervous system. And in doing that, you would basically automate as many of the tasks as possible. So you would use AI tools, you would use stuff like Canva, you would use stuff as automatic editors, and basically they take all of the mundane, repetitive, very time-consuming tasks and automate them using a device or an app or something like that. Bringing this business to life, it's important to also make use of the fantastic freelancers that you have lying around. I myself am one of them. I do freelancing services in marketing and social media content creation. So if that's something that you need in your business, I would be, for example, one of the people that would be able to help you with that. And she said that basically whatever you can't cover with AI and automation tools, that you need to outsource to freelancers, because they are self-sufficient. You don't need to actually monitor them too much, other than obviously making sure that they deliver what they promise. But they make their own schedules, they're in charge of their own taxes. You just pay them the fee, and then the rest is taken care of by themselves, which I think is a fantastic advice, not only because it helps me in my business, but because it actually delineates between the entrepreneur as the brain and the center of the operations, and the executives, in this case the freelancers, who would be able to best know how to spread their tasks and how to approach every single project in order to get it done in the most efficient way. Ari also highlighted the importance of setting up systems that help take away some of the overthinking, the stress, the executive dysfunction that a lot of us feel, myself included. She then continued on by saying that if you set up the right systems, have the right freelancers and apps that you engage in your business, that you can then see growth and lead to a sustainable business model that runs on its own, basically. And I think that's important because a lot of the people that were at this talk, as great as they were, they never really presented a finish line for this business. A lot of the entrepreneurs that spoke at the event were in the middle of their business. They were not seeing any end in sight, and they were very much still fully engaged in their own businesses. What Ari did differently was she actually emphasized that for ADHD brains, it's important to have an end in sight. It's important to have a moment where the business becomes self-sufficient, where it can run on its own. You can potentially sell it or just externalize a lot of the operations and the managerial tasks to somebody else, and you can move on to your next project, to your next business. Next up is Dain Walker. He had actually 2 sessions during the festival. One of them was just his pure presentation on branding, the energy management framework, and his brand course that he gave away to us, the participants. And he also had a Q&A session that I don't really have much to talk about because it was people's personal situations in their own businesses. I do not want to share that. However, I will say that Dain is an incredible public speaker. He has this incredible talking style that is just gripping and exciting, and is definitely proof why he is so successful in his businesses. I would say that the most important thing that he emphasized on and on throughout his speech was the importance of telling a good story. And a good story has, the typical things: the hook, the very important kind of information that you add to people's lives and how you can help them and how you can make their lives even better than they were before. And I think he is an incredible public speaker. I am right now doing the course that he shared with us, and I will report back once that's done. Next up, Sara Al Madani. She was such an incredible presence. I have seen a few of her podcasts before, but I can't say that I follow her that closely. However, she is fantastic. She took all the time that she felt that we needed. She answered all of our questions. She did a meditation session, and she is just such a convincing storyteller that I think you can't help but leave her talks with some sort of renewed purpose and some sort of sense of just power and confidence in yourself. And I think that's also needed in business. You need a very kind of convincing persona to present yourself to the world. And it's also one of the reasons why a lot of our great artists and business people have alter egos, and why they present to themselves in such a powerful way through these characters that they create for themselves. But that's a different story for another time. Love Sara, love everything that she had to say, and I would definitely recommend you follow her journey, and you see how she was completely able to turn her life around and make lemonade out of her lemons. And I really, really adore the fact that she was invited to speak for us. So thank you, Sara. Next up, we have Simon Squibb, who I'm sure a lot of you guys know. He is the "Do you have a dream? What is your dream?" guy. He was so personable and so open to talk about where he's come from, how he has the money that he has to give away to all these people, and what his core mission of helping people succeed and reach their dreams. And I think he is truly one of the greatest people that we've seen in supporting other people with no strings attached. He has this incredible way of making you understand that your dream matters. As much as we are told, throughout adulthood, that you need to do serious things and you need to get a job and whatever, some people's dreams are still in them. And he was just amazing in showing us all that the reason why we're doing what we're doing, why we're entrepreneurs, why we have our own businesses, why we have our own passion projects, why all of that matters. And he had this incredible talk, and at the end he took questions, and there was this younger boy. He was 14, if I remember correctly, and he told Simon that he's working on a project. He's learning about the blockchain and cryptocurrency, and online contracts and stuff like that. And Simon was just so eager to help him, and I think they had dinner together. So I'm sure that something good will come out of this for this kid, because he was so eager and so just open to learn everything about this new online kind of world of the blockchain. And as much as I don't really care about cryptocurrencies as they are now, the scammy little wrapper type coins and meme coins and other stuff like that, the blockchain though is a very important technology, something that I'm sure we're going to use for years to come. So seeing somebody at such a young age have such a clear mission of their dream and what they want to do was very inspiring. And I'm so glad that Simon was stuck true to his persona that we know and love, and immediately offered to help support this kid and his mom in their dreams. And I absolutely love that. Next up, Daniel Priestley. He has such a different style of speaking, and I feel like the presentation was a lot more serious than the other speakers, which I personally enjoy. Don't get me wrong, like if I pay money for a conference, I better be getting all of the hard facts and the practical tips and everything. And he came with a presentation that was absolutely banging. He was talking about the importance of hiring well. He was talking about the importance of having the good systems around you. He also encouraged us, and he pointed out all of the great things that are happening in Romania right now, politically and economically. So we definitely are a country with a lot of entrepreneurial potential, and I hope we don't waste it. And I'm sure by how many amazing people I saw and heard at this event that will be the case. But yeah, he was a bit more serious, a bit more like focused on giving us the practical tips, which were hire well, scale well, and always be able to pivot and change your position if that is something that you see that your market is asking for. Another great thing that Daniel pointed out is sending out signals ahead of every launch that you do in your business, be it services, be it products. He really highlighted the importance of doing stuff like waiting lists and workshops or events ahead of a big launch, creating stuff like discussion groups and a business scorecard, something that you could get your people to show interest, your potential customers to show interest in your product and your services ahead of actually selling it to them. And I think that's such an important tidbit to kind of keep in mind in this era of people being so focused on having as if almost a friendly relationship with people thanks to TikTok and social media for their businesses. But it's actually important to actually understand what your audience is made of and what their preferences are, what they're willing to click on, what they're not willing to buy. And scorecards and kind of these signals is the best way to understand your demographic as customers and consumers. So definitely something that I will be keeping in mind moving forward with my art exhibits and my projects. So that's something that definitely stuck with me as kind of his key point of the presentation. Finally, I did not see Jason Derulo, unfortunately, but I did see Steven Bartlett, who obviously I'm sure everybody knows is the creator of the Diary of a CEO podcast and his other very many various businesses that he invests in. He is on, I believe it's called Dragon's Den in the UK, not Shark Tank, so he's a dragon in the Dragon's Den. Anyway, point being, he invests in a lot of businesses, he works with a lot of entrepreneurs. And I think what I took away from his talk was, first of all, his humility. He was so eager to not talk about himself as like this, beacon of light, but more so as a source of storytelling and a source of giving us all the information that we needed. So he talked about the importance of hiring well, which you will see is a recurring theme throughout this festival. I think it's very important to hire well. And he was also talking about the importance of building systems, the importance of motivating your teams to be the best that they can in every single aspect. And he was talking about how his team for the Diary of a CEO podcast almost races against each other in ways that they can make the podcast and the guests feel 1% better each episode that they film. So they were talking about stuff like the scent in the room and the temperature and the air quality, the music that they play when the guest comes in. So all of these things make his podcast the best that it is. And I absolutely just loved that he was not, fussing around the answers. He was giving us pure, straight information. He gave us examples of when he failed, and he encouraged us that whenever failure does inevitably come around, that we should embrace it and we should learn as much as possible from the failures, which I definitely think, is one of the advice that I keep hearing. It's one of the advice that, one of the pieces of advice that makes me feel more secure in, even if my business fails now, at least I'll have something to learn and take into my next venture. So absolutely, Steven Bartlett, if you ever have the chance of hearing him speak do so. He was absolutely so kind and so open to give us all the information. So that's all the headliners that I got to see. I would say a perfect headliner roll up for this year, for the first edition. But I want to move also across some of the smallest speakers that I saw at this event, because all of them that I saw shared something that stuck with me, and I want to share one idea from each of the speakers that I saw. Granted, I didn't see all of them because there were 5 locations and talks were happening at the same time at all 5 locations. I tried my best throughout the days to go to as many as possible, based also around my personal business interests. But I'm gonna give you just a sentence or two for each speaker that I saw. Okay, first person I want to talk about, his name is Radu Atanasiu, and he, is a part of the International Bucharest School of Management, I believe it's called. He is very good at creating ecosystems for businesses. He is an investor. He's an entrepreneur himself. I have my notes down here, that's why I'm reading all of this stuff. But the idea that stuck with me the most, which makes complete sense when you hear it, and I'm sure you're gonna be like, oh yeah, why did I not think about that? Because that was my reaction, is he said to get some of your smartest, most business inclined, most analytical friends and create a board of advisors for your business, no matter how small the business is. He said that it's important to make a schedule and at least once a month gather these people around and talk to them about your progress in your business. And it's an accountability system that you set up for yourself, so that even before you get approached by investors, before you actually get to set a board of advisors in the traditional sense, that you have this group of people that has your best interest at heart and that keeps you accountable. And I think that's such a great idea, something that I'm completely gonna implement in my own business. And I'm just so happy that I went to see him speak, because he was so kind of thorough in the advice that he gave. And he talked about, building ecosystems for your business, giving your customers an entire kind of world to kind of sing themselves into, and connecting their needs and their wants in the best way that you can. He also talked about the idea of exploration versus exploitation. So he talked about being able to be ambidextrous in that kind of way, to know when you need to explore new ideas or to know when you need to exploit already existing ideas, because those are the best. Fantastic. Next up, I want to talk about Alin Luca, who is one of the co-founders of Flip.ro. This is a technology refurbishment website where you sell your phone, they repair it, and then they sell it off to somebody else. So you can be both a supplier and a customer of the website. I think it's a brilliant idea what they do. And he talked about many aspects of how he came to build this business, but the idea that stuck with me, and obviously it's not his idea that he created, I've heard it before, but in this context, in the context of his own business, I think it made perfect sense. He was talking about investors and kind of, diluting his ownership in the company. And he said that he doesn't really care about being the majority owner. He doesn't really care about owning the entire company, as long as the company is thriving, it's developing, and it's growing. And the reason why he said that is because in business there's this idea of it's better to own a bit of something than everything of nothing. That's something that I heard all throughout business school, that I heard from my friends who do entrepreneurship as well. And I think it makes the most sense. When you truly care for something to work out, you will be able to let investors come in, let co-founders come in, and dilute your single ownership into something that's much bigger than you, and that ultimately helps the idea thrive, not just your own personal ego. Okay, next up, I want to talk about Constantin Gorgan, I think his name is. He works a lot with technology-based businesses. I believe he sold a couple of businesses to Google or some other tech giant anyway. But he was there to talk about AI environments and the upcoming AI revolution that we are actually currently experiencing. And he had a lot of ideas about what AI can do to us, what kind of apps you can use in your own business operations. If you think about what Ari Scott said about automating, this is something that, you could use stuff like Gemini, Perplexity AI, Gemini Code Assist, and everything else that, you can find on the web that is AI supportive systems for your business. What I think his main idea that I took away from this talk is that implementation is much better than the idea itself. He said that implementation is the way that you take a mediocre idea to something that's really great. And I agree, because I think you can have the best idea in the world, but if you don't know how to execute it or who to hire to help you execute it, it's not going to be a great idea, because not a lot of people are going to hear about it, not a lot of people are going to invest in it. And I think that's, you know, important to keep in mind as you create a business, as you're thinking about scaling a business and everything else like that. Next up, I want to talk about Cristian Susanu, who owns a digital marketing and branding agency. I stumbled upon his talk, to be honest with you. There was just so many people that you could go and listen to that I think on my initial plan of talks that I wanted to attend, I just didn't see him. But I'm so glad that I actually ended up in his talk and I heard most of it. I actually asked him a question about what do agencies such as myself find out too late from the client. And I think he was a bit tickled by this question, but he gave me a really, really, really good answer that I'm actually so happy to have now and to share with you. And I'm also gonna implement it in my own agency. He said that most of the time, because we do marketing and we do branding, a lot of the behind the scenes of the product or the service that we are advertising is actually not shared with us by the team. And that's not, you know, a fault of their own. It's just that it's not something that a lot of business owners think to share with their marketing teams. And he said that it's important to understand not only the customer journey, which for most of these brands might take place fully online or might take place both inline and in store. He said that it's important as a marketing person, as a branding person, to understand the customer journey from start to finish, to understand if there's any bottlenecks, any issues, any hard stops that are, you know, making people leave their basket online and not actually check out with it. And he also said that it's important to know if any technical issues are taking place at any time, so that you can let your audience know that this is happening, and you can also mediate it in the meantime. He also said that it's important to understand the numbers. So what your highest ticket offers, what your best product that you're trying to highlight, what makes your client's firm the most money and in the most efficient way possible. And I think that's absolutely something that I will keep in mind with my clients moving forward. I shared as many ideas as I could with you. I hope at least one of these is useful to you in your entrepreneurial journey. I would say put an appropriate amount of pressure on yourself. Right now, I am balancing between, you know, doing all of the work all at once and taking the time to step back and understand the progress that I'm making with my business. Attending this conference was absolutely a milestone for me, because I got to network with new people. I got to see international speakers that usually I just see on screen or I read their books. But hearing them out loud in front of me, answer questions from the audience is absolutely a very refreshing few days for me to spend my time immersed in this sort of very dynamic entrepreneurial community. I have very high hopes for Romania as a country in this industry and in entrepreneurship. And if there's any more ideas or questions that you have about this event that I didn't answer to in this video, please let them in the comments below and I will make sure to reply to them. Also, I will be attending next year's edition of the festival. I already bought my ticket, so I will be seeing you there. But again, let me know if you have any questions, any concerns. Let me know actually what is the idea that you liked the most out of everything that I shared with you. And yeah, go and give these people a follow if you don't already. I'm sure you do, but if you don't, just go and follow their journeys. It's absolutely inspirational. Until then, I'll see you in my next video.